It started with something so small, I almost didn't notice. The kitchen light was soft that morning. Steam curled off 2 mugs of coffee. My hands were folded on the table, the way they always were before I ate. An old habit, nothing more. Then I looked up.
Are
Across
you
the
being a
table,
good boy?
in the chair he wasn't
Who's a
supposed to
good
be sitting in,
kitty?
my orange rescue cat
want
had his
some
paws
treats?
pressed together, upright, still, watching me. I laughed out loud. I grabbed my phone before he could move. He didn't move. That was the first time I felt it, that small, strange feeling that something was different about this cat. I didn't know yet how different. His name is Milo. I found him 3 years ago, barely 8 weeks old, shivering behind a gas station dumpster in the rain. No collar, no mother in sight. Just a soaked orange kitten too small to even meow properly, blinking up at me like he already knew I wasn't going to leave him there. I didn't. From the beginning, Milo was strange in one particular way. At the shelter, he ignored the other kittens in his pen and pressed himself against the wire mesh instead, watching the volunteers walk by. He wanted people, only people. I used to think that was just personality. Life with Milo became routine the way it does with any pet. Feeding time, nap time, the spot by the window where he watched the birds. Nothing unusual, except that he was always watching. Not just birds, us. The dining table thing kept happening. Every morning before breakfast, I folded my hands. It wasn't a prayer, just a pause, something my grandmother used to do before every meal. I never taught it to anyone. I never thought about it at all. But Milo noticed. Within a week, it wasn't just his pause. He started sitting the way people sit, upright, weight settled back, front legs tucked instead of sprawled. He'd hold the position for whole minutes, still as a statue, eyes half closed like he was deep in thought. My husband thought it was funny. Coincidence, he said. Cats sit however they want. But then Milo started watching television with us, not chasing the screen like other cats do, actually watching it, head tilted toward the couch, still and quiet for the length of an entire show. Then came the toothbrush. I keep an old one in a cup by the sink, one I use to clean grout, nothing important. One evening I found Milo on the bathroom counter, toothbrush handle between his paws, dragging it back and forth across his own mouth in short, careful strokes. My daughter walked in behind me and just stood there, not laughing, not saying anything, just staring. That was the moment it stopped feeling like a coincidence. We started paying closer attention after that, and once we started looking, we couldn't stop finding more. He would sit in the kitchen doorway while I cooked, eyes tracking every motion of my hands. He would climb onto a chair at bedtime and pull himself under the edge of a blanket, the way a person does, not the way a cat curls into a ball. When my son folded laundry on the living room floor, Milo would sit beside the pile, pawing gently at a shirt sleeve like he was trying to help. We laughed about it every time. We filmed some of it. But underneath the laughing there was something none of us said out loud. A small, quiet question that kept coming back. Is he actually learning us? We told ourselves it was just a funny cat being a funny cat. That's all it was. That's all it could be. Until one morning, 3 weeks later, when we sat down for breakfast and folded our hands out of pure habit, and Milo did something none of us were prepared to see. He didn't just copy the posture this time. He closed his eyes, and the whole table went silent. It happened on an ordinary evening. Nothing about the day suggested anything unusual was coming. Dinner was on the table, chicken, rice, the same plates we used every night. My husband pulled out his chair. My daughter set down a stack of napkins. My son grabbed the water pitcher. Milo sat in his usual spot at the end of the table, tail curled neatly around his paws. We settled in, and out of habit we folded our hands. Milo didn't hesitate. He sat upright, paws pressed together, eyes closed. Nobody said a word. And then, all at once, the room broke into laughter, the kind that comes from somewhere deep, the kind you can't stop even when you try. My daughter had tears in her eyes. My son was recording before any of us even thought to grab a phone. We played that video back a dozen times that night. It never stopped being funny, but it also wasn't the last surprise. Over the following weeks, Milo's habits kept expanding in ways we couldn't have predicted. When my husband cleaned the garage, Milo perched on a shelf nearby, watching with what looked like supervisory interest, occasionally tilting his head as if inspecting the work. When I sat down with my laptop for work calls, he took up residence beside the keyboard, still and attentive, as if he had meetings of his own to attend. Sports nights became another ritual. My son would settle onto the couch for a game, and Milo would join him, eyes fixed on the screen every time the crowd noise rose. He never chased the movement the way cats usually do with fast motion on TV. He just watched, calm, like he was following the score. He started waiting outside the bathroom door whenever someone was inside. Not scratching, not meowing, just sitting, patient, the way you'd wait your turn in a hallway. And when guests arrived, Milo beat all of us to the door, sitting upright beside it like he was there to greet them personally. That's when things started to spread beyond our small circle. A neighbor posted one of the videos online, the one of Milo folding his paws at dinner. Within a few days, it had thousands of views, then it had hundreds of thousands. People we'd never met were commenting from other states, other countries, tagging friends, asking if this was real. More videos followed. The toothbrush moment, the mirror watching, the laundry help. Each one pulled in more views than the last. Strangers started calling him nicknames in the comments. Some called him the human cat. Others went with Little Gentleman, or, because of the folded paws, Professor Paws. It was surreal, watching our quiet, once abandoned kitten become something people all over the world were smiling about. We'd laugh reading the comments together in the evening, thousands of strangers, all charmed by the same small orange cat who used to shiver behind a gas station dumpster. But somewhere in the middle of all that laughter, I started noticing something I hadn't let myself think about before. Milo wasn't performing for the camera. He never once glanced at the phone when we filmed him. He wasn't doing any of this for an audience. He was doing it for us. Every folded paw, every yawn, every quiet minute spent watching from the counter, none of it was an act. It was attention. It was Milo learning the rhythms of the people who mattered to him, the way children learn to speak by listening long before they understand a single word. He wasn't trying to become human. He was simply copying the people he loved. I sat with that thought longer than I expected to. It changed the way I looked at every video we'd filmed, every laugh we'd shared over his strange little habits. What we'd been calling funny, what strangers online were calling adorable, was something quieter underneath it all. It was trust. It was 3 years of a scared, abandoned kitten deciding, one small gesture at a time, that this was where he belonged. It took me a while to say it out loud, even to myself. Milo wasn't mimicking us because he thought he was one of us. He was mimicking us because watching was how he loved. Every folded paw, every borrowed yawn, every quiet hour spent studying our hands from across the room, it was never a performance. It was attention, given freely, the kind you can't fake and can't force. I thought back to the gas station, to the small shivering shape behind that dumpster 3 years ago. He hadn't known what a home was yet. He hadn't known what safety felt like, or routine, or the particular sound a kitchen makes when a family gathers in it every evening. He'd had to learn all of it, and he learned it the only way he knew how, by watching us, closely, patiently, for years. Every habit he'd picked up wasn't a trick. It was a record of everything he'd paid attention to: the folded hands before meals, the stretch before getting up, the stillness during a movie. Somewhere in all that quiet observation, Milo hadn't just learned our routines, he'd learned to belong to them. Dinner became different after that. Not because anything changed on the surface. We still folded our hands the same way, at the same table, with the same plates. But now, when Milo sat upright beside us and pressed his paws together, nobody reached for a phone first. We just sat there with him. It had stopped feeling like a party trick weeks ago, somewhere between the 100th video and the 1000th comment. Now it just felt like ours, a small, strange ritual that belonged to our family and to him, the same way grace belongs to some tables and silence belongs to others. Nobody laughed anymore, not because it wasn't funny, it still was, but because it had become something steadier than a joke. It had become a tradition, the kind you don't think to explain to people outside the house, because you don't fully understand it yourself, you just know it's yours. In the evenings now, after the dishes are done and the house settles into its quiet hours, Milo finds his spot. Sometimes it's the couch, curled against my side, while the television murmurs low in the background. Sometimes it's the foot of the bed, a warm orange weight against my legs before either of us falls asleep. He still waits by the door when someone's expected. He still watches from the counter while dinner comes together. He still tilts his head at the mirror some mornings, like he's checking on something only he understands. But now, when I watch him do these things, I don't see a cat performing for an audience. I see 3 years of trust, built one small copied gesture at a time. I see a kitten who had nothing, deciding, slowly, carefully, that this was worth staying for. Some evenings, when the light goes gold through the kitchen window, Milo climbs up onto the windowsill and sits the way he sits at the table, upright, still, watching the sun go down the way he once watched us, like there's something in it worth paying close attention to. I don't know if he thinks the way we do. I don't know if he understands what any of his habits mean, or if it's simpler than that. Instinct dressed up as imitation, love dressed up as routine. I only know what it looks like from where I sit. It looks like a cat who found a family and never stopped studying how to be part of it. Maybe Milo never wanted to become human. Maybe he was simply showing us the greatest compliment a pet can give, becoming just like the family he loves. If Milo made you smile today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more unforgettable cat adventures every week.